This is your one and only 𝙊𝙪��𝙤 with your daily dose of video goodness, and welcome back to another exciting Atlas video. So in today's video, we are going to take a look at some highlights from the most recent dev stream, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on some of the new stuff that is coming to Atlas.
Something else we wanted to address is there have obviously been some recent discussions brought up by the community regarding our anti-cheat situation. So around Captain's Log 14, I think it was, we addressed that like it is a priority for us. We worked since then to implement 𝙊𝙪𝙩𝙪. That's now active on our game servers. I think we've already banned like 300 people, and we've wiped a couple of tribes off the game. Sorry, a couple companies off the game. I have about 12K hours in our, it's hard to get away from that. So we wiped a couple of companies off, and we banned a lot of people, and we're going to continue to iterate on those systems. Last night released major version 14, and that was primarily for the dev kit because we also released the dev kit, but there were some additional back-end changes in there which don't necessarily impact you guys too much, but they help us a lot when trying to catch these bad troublemakers. Additionally, what else we've been doing is that we've spooled up our custom support team, like I guess our GM team. They're tackling kind of like live issues that players face in game. Primarily, they were dealing with company ownership problems because we had that horrible bug where people would lose ownership. But it looks like that is now resolved, which is, I'm so happy.
So I thought this was important to show because if you're cheating, you're going to get banned. They are looking for cheaters and they are banning cheaters, and that is fantastic. So if you've had to deal with a cheater, report them, make sure you have proof, and they'll probably get banned. And the fact that they've banned 300 people already and wiped a couple large companies, that's fantastic and hilarious at the same time. I also like the fact that they are going to have a GM team, or do now have a GM team. That's fantastic to help people with in-game issues and stuff like that. That's really cool that they have that. And I think that really goes to show that they care that people actually have a good time playing this game.
We are also relatively soon going to be digging into rewriting a whole bunch of company systems like from the ground up, because they literally just were not built around the idea of 1,000-person plus
now
companies. And so seeing that people are actually doing that, the system just needs a rewrite. And when it gets rewritten, it'll be a lot more stable, and we'll be able to support much, much larger groups. And we'll be able to extend the functionality that can actually be done with companies. So
this is something that was actually needed before they launched into early access. Essentially what they did is they just copied over all of 𝐈𝙪𝙪𝐸's tribe mechanics, and that's what we have for this game. And that just doesn't work for this game, and they should have known that it wasn't going to work for this game, considering the fact that they boasted about how big this game was going to be and how many people could play at the same time. They should have known that there was going to be companies of 1,000 people or more. Not to mention, I forget who it was. One of them was interviewed by one of the magazines, PC Gamer or one of those, and they mentioned that they wanted something on the lines of EVE Online. EVE Online has insanely large companies. Some of these companies are well over 2,000 people or more. They should have known this was going to happen, and they should have been prepared for it. So we're getting a company overhaul at some point. That's fantastic. It is more than needed.
The main one we've got to talk about is probably the balance of guns, melee weapons, and fire arrows. We made some initial tweaks to them around version 10, and we're still open to making changes to them. We're kind of like bouncing off each other, like what exactly do we want to do to it? It seems like the initial idea behind the gunplay is like we wanted to make guns more effective against higher armored users, because what we noticed initially, like prior to version 10, was that like you'd have your flintlock pistol, and then you'd shoot someone wearing heavy armor, and you would do like 0 damage essentially. So we kind of tweaked the values a bit to make it more piercing, and now the downside is we made it so that like it has less flat damage. So wild creatures are a lot more aggressive in that sense. Like you do less damage against lesser tiered armor. So we're obviously going to go back, and we are going to make changes to where we feel like we're in a good place. Maybe that means adding a multiplier to like wild creatures themselves, and then like we are open to doing this stuff. We just kind of see where we want to go from here.
Damage values are just something that they're going to be balancing for a long time. They're all over the place right now. They're going to be all over the place. It's something that they're going to be dealing with throughout the development of the game and probably still tweaking after the game has officially launched. However, I thought it was important to show this clip just so people know that they realize this is a thing and they're working on it and they're going to continue to work on it.
The other stuff we kind of mentioned was like fire arrows and melee weapons. Maybe they need to be more buffed, or we need to encourage more people to do them. I did see an interesting thing in one of the Reddit threads, and something that someone messaged me on Discord is like, you know how we have the mini game thing, where like, you know,
The reload?
Like the reload mini game. Someone's just like, we should do that for fire arrows. Shoot a fire arrow, and if you want it to bend, you gotta hit. And I was just like, damn, that sounds really good. It's not something I've spoken to these guys about yet, because I read it earlier today. So like, I kind of like that.
No. Just no. Are you high? Like, seriously, did you all just decide to smoke a fat doobie before you got on stream? No, that is the stupidest idea. The mini game for reloading and every other place that they decided to jab that in there is already a big enough pain in the butt. To put that with fire arrows, and when you're trying to launch the bow and you're trying to fight, the bow should be something that's quick and agile and easy to fight with. And you want to put the mini game on it? Do you really want to aggravate the entire? No, just don't. I don't know what part of you would think that that's a good idea. You've got to be drunk or high or something. Like, no. Get the mini game out of there as it is. It's terrible. It breaks immersion, and it's just horrible.
The next thing I kind of wanted to jump on was creature spawns and the alpha creatures. People are like finding that we have a huge amount of them on the islands, and we're actually looking into some technical solutions to like kind of adjust how they're weighted and how they spawn around the map. So this is kind of like an overall change to the entire game, which we should see improvements from that initially. But there's also the idea that like maybe we just gotta bring it down a bit. Like we didn't want this to be like a kind of a heavy creature game, but then it was also like we do need the environment to be tough, and we do need people to like feel threat. And like when they're going around and they're trying to like harvest something and build their boats and everything, like it shouldn't just be a walk in the park. And it's kind of like fine tuning that. And I think maybe once we get the balance weighting done and the numbers kind of are more evened out, we can kind of see like, okay, what is the primary issue? Is just like people aren't able to deal enough damage to these creatures, or is it that like they're dealing too much damage, or maybe like just maybe even once we have the weighting in place, it's still like too many we're seeing. I know
maybe they have to be more rewarding to fight.
I know, like I've received a lot of feedback, especially from players who have put in a lot of hours in Ark as well. Like they're saying, like they kind of hide these creatures, and so I know one group of players who have told me like they've literally built up a structure to take the wild creatures to, and they just leave them in stasis. And like that kind of tells me like, okay, guys, we got to adjust.
There's something
that.
not fun about interacting with that system, and we want to find out how we can make it enjoyable for players rather than something they want to put to the side and not look at.
All right, first of all, let me state, whoever's idea it was to stash creatures in order to stop them from spawning, you are pure genius. I cannot believe I didn't think of that beforehand. It's so simple, and there's really not a whole lot they can do to stop it because of the way that the game works. It's built with Ark mechanics, and that mechanic is it looks at spawn weight. So if there's already enough of something on the map, it won't continue to spawn that something. So all you have to do is just stash these creatures somewhere in a structure that they can't destroy, and then just leave them and they won't spawn. So no more Wolf Island or Snake Island or any of that shenanigans. That's a brilliant idea. I highly suggest everybody do it. Pretty simple. Just build a stone structure, have them follow you in there and run in there with nothing on you, and then just die in there and respawn at a bed and you know, shut the door and die and respawn. That's a great idea. As far as like players go and the genius of players. As far as like their comments about making them rewarding the fight and balancing them, yes, they need to balance. It's a disaster right now. You can't go to an island without constantly being attacked by wolves and snakes and scorpions and everything under the sun, and that's stupid and it's not fun. There should be islands, many islands, or most islands. We shouldn't have that constant danger. On the Ark maps, you don't have that problem. There's dangerous spots. There's other spots where you can go to and farm with no problem whatsoever, and it should be the same situation here. They really need to adjust those spawns drastically. Now, I'm okay with there being a threat. I'm okay with you having to go out and worry and look over your shoulder. You should have to look over your shoulder. but it shouldn't be a constant, insane, stupid battle where you farm a little bit, get killed by a wolf, respawn, go get your stuff, manage to kill the wolf, and then, 10 minutes later, a freaking alpha scorpion comes along and you spend 20 minutes trying to kill it after it kills you 6 or 7 times, and you've already wasted 3 hours, which you could have been freaking farm. It's a mess. That whole thing right now needs so much balancing, and it's part of the reason that I've just held off on playing a little bit, just because it's such a pain to constantly deal with all the creatures constantly hounding you, and you can't even get anything done. That whole situation needs to be their top priority. Well, one of their top priorities, I should say, because they got a lot going on right now.
Another topic I want to touch on, which is maybe less of a concern now, but we did still see a lot of comments about it, is Ship of the Damned. So, I mean, since launch, we've significantly reduced the amount of Ship of the Damned that you see in a grid. I think we started out with 150, and now we're looking around 30 to 40, so it's come down quite a lot. We've reduced their damage. Their aggro range now varies based on the type of boat you're on. So if you're on a raft, it's quite a small amount compared to if you're using a galleon. And we're seeing how things go. We're actually introducing some kind of variety to the Ship of the Damned himself. So you'll
Good
see
news, there'll be more ships of the damned.
well, I mean, it is kind of good news because there'll be less mean ones.
Yeah, we're putting in a smaller Ship of the Damned.
We're gonna have some Care Bear Ship of the Damned, and then like some.
And then we're gonna have some real scary big ones that are much more rare.
Yeah, so
that way we'll have still probably the same overall number, but a lot of them will be easier than the current ones, because the current one's kind of like mid-tier, and something that's more kind of like brigantine size. And we're gonna have one we'll show you on the stream today anyway. It's about half that size, and then one that's twice that size. So
yeah, and they will, the size is probably gonna be pretty indicative of like how tough they are to face. So if you see a big one and you're on a sloop, you probably should run.
I gotta give them props for the whole Ship of the Damned. They're doing a really good job at balancing that. Right now, they have it to a situation where it's, like I said, the island should be. You go out, you're sailing, you're safe for the most part, but you're not easy about it. You keep an eye out on the horizon and behind you and all around, and you're constantly on edge because one could just appear, or you could have a whale or something like that. And that's a situation that it should be on the islands as well. And I like the idea of the different varieties of the Ships of the Damned, so that you can take your smaller boats out and fight smaller ships and actually get those rewards and work your way up through the tiers. And that's how it should be. And they're doing a spot on job at getting all that going, and kudos to them for that.
The other kind of general topic I want to touch on is the claim system. We've made some changes to them in, I think it was major version 10.0 was when we made a lot of adjustments to the claim system. So we changed how easy or difficult it is to steal someone's kind of claim away. We changed the amount of time required to contest and how much time is required to like steal boats and stuff like that. And these are things we're still iterating on. The claim system is a huge part of the game, and we're kind of like seeing where we want to go with it. I know a lot of people, like especially in this room right now, there's like probably 6 people in this room who all have their own ideas of how they want to do the claim system. Mine's the best, but it's
You're
like
right.
it's something
Mine is
like
the
we
best.
know you guys are sending us feedback in about, and we do plan to kind of make changes, and maybe that requires like redesign the system, but we kind of want to see how it goes. And it's not something that can be done in a day. Like the claim system is super important, and we have to like decide like, are we really kind of ready to make this change? And the thing is, like, it's such a huge design change. It's like not something that can be, like I say, can't be done in a day. Can't even be done in a week. And we kind of want to see like where exactly we want to take it. I know I personally would like some kind of upkeep cost of claims, and then Jesse had this really cool idea where it's just like if you have a claim that like focused on your company or your company and alliance, like you're kind of more prone to being abused by the wild creatures. And I thought that was pretty nice. It encourages people to use the neutral zones, because I would like to see more people use the neutral zones, the neutral claim setting. That's the default setting you have when you drop down a claim flag. It makes the area neutral so anyone can come build on it, and just expanding that system and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think something to think about, like, there's a lot of ideas about limiting the claim system in some way, but if you hard limit it, people are just going to work around it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just say, here's the rule, and you're not allowed to break it, because everyone's going to break it. So we want to incentivize people to use the claim system in a way that's more balanced for everyone. And so that's the type of stuff that we want to think about. You know, like, why as a large tribe would you want to use the neutral setting? Why might you want to let people live in your territory? And what advantages can the game give you for allowing that versus just saying, I'm sorry, no, you can only have 50 claim flags, because then I'm just going to split my company. I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to make an alliance, and then I'm going to make 300 claim flags between like 5 alliances that I've done. And it just spirals out into like you always trying to limit and get around the people who are breaking the rules, instead of like using the carrot and being like, here's we want you to be, playing this way if you want to, and here's the benefits of it. You're always going to have the people who want to play in a way that's more like, I want to be a pirate, I want to grief people, I want to like go in there and destroy. Their benefit is they get satisfaction out of doing that. They get loot, they get that's already in the game. So I think the harder challenge is how do we incentivize people to play peacefully and do stuff that appeals to the other part of the player base that don't always want to be, logging in and rebuilding because they got griefed, by a passing by tribe in the night or something. So I think that's a real challenge for us for this game, and I there's a lot of cool ideas on the table right now on how to update the claim system as part of that overall a goal. But we're working on it, and that's going to be one of the things that we're excited to roll out in a later patch.
All right, so the claim system is all kinds of broken right now. They realize it's broken and they're working on it. I kind of agree with some of the points that they make, and I also disagree with some stuff that was said in this situation here. First off, I agree that they should be working on systems to influence you to want to share your claim and work together as a team and team up and make alliances and stuff like that and allow people on your land. I 100% agree with that. At the same time, I totally disagree with the fact that just limiting claims is not going to fix the problem, because it does. And what they do is they give you an extreme example in this situation to try to sway your way of thinking. And all they have to do is limit the claims per person. If they limit the claims per person, then you can't really cheat it, because how are you going to cheat it if you only have so many claims? Now, yes, in that situation, it would grow with your company, and that would make sense. It should grow with your company. All they have to do to limit claims to make it so that you can't break it or really work around it is make so many claims per person. So for example, one person can get up to 10 claims at max level. They give you one extra claim flag every so many levels. And then you can put those claim flags towards your company. That's it. That's one really good way to limit people from just going crazy, because a perfect example of where this would come into really good influence is these little small companies, these little groups of like 2 and 3 people are taking over entire islands, and they should not be allowed to do so. Now, a large company, if you manage to get 600 people in your company and you use your, 600 claim flags, then more power to you. You have a large company, you should be allowed to use that many claim flags. So they should limit it per player, not per company, and allow those flags to stack up and work with the company. And that's another thing too, is like it would incentivize people to stay with the company, because incentivize companies to keep the people, because if you lose people, then you should lose those claim flags as well. They should immediately go into a decay, and you should have this period of time to try to fix the situation and get another person back to reclaim over it or what have you. But yeah, I mean, it needs a lot of work, but don't let them fool you with the whole, oh, we can't limit it, that doesn't fix any problem. Yeah, it does fix some of the problem, but it needs to be a situation where they're incentivizing you to play together and incentivizing you to share your claimed land, but at the same time, limiting the amount that a company can have by limiting the amount a player can have.
We didn't want to design a game where you had to have land in order to progress. That's why we created the Freeports. That's why we created lawless zones where you can sort of be on land briefly. And as larger tribes sort of open up through our changes to the claim system, places where other players can come and either use their land neutrally or settle on it, whatever. You shouldn't have to like maintain a claim to make progress in this game. Right. There's a lot of ways you can play, and I think that's important to think about too. There's going to be people who can only play a few hours a week or whatever, and we want to make sure that those people can have fun as well. And maybe the way you have fun a few hours a week isn't trying to maintain a claim that somebody's going to try to come and steal, because having a claim all to yourself is sort of signing up for a certain type of gameplay, perhaps. We don't want to be in a situation where you have a claim and it's permanent and now nobody can ever be on that land now. That opens up all types of problems for long-term gameplay. So there's a lot of balls to juggle with the claim system if we want to really support all types of players in the game.
They say they want a game where you don't have to have a land claim, but here's the thing, you do. That's the game you made. You have to have land. That's the way you've designed the game. I don't understand how they expect people to feel like they don't need to have a spot to call home when the game is designed that way. You literally have to have land in order to make a ship. I mean, you can buy the sloop, but you're going to want to upgrade your ship at some point, so you're going to have to put down a shipyard, and if there's nowhere in the lawless zones to do so because people spam foundations everywhere because they've done so. It's rampant. There's no place in the lawless zones because everybody's just spread out all over there because they can't find land anywhere else because these three-man companies have taken over every island known to man that's in the game. And you essentially have a game where you have to have some place to call home. Even if you had a situation where, let's say you don't want to have a chunk of land, you manage to get a ship, you just want to be on your ship and you just want to live the pirate's life, the ships have weight limits. So you're never going to be able to amount any kind of massive wealth because you're limited to what you can have due to the weight of your ship. And then if that ship sinks, you're immediately out. Everything you have, and you can't just store things in little bases somewhere or something like that because you can't place down a land claim anywhere. And let's face it, the gamer mentality is to amass a hoard of wealth because that shows your status in that game, and that's just the gamer mentality. Amass a hoard of wealth. That's what you're going to do. Amass as much resources as you can. If there's currency in the game, get as much of that as you can, and get to a point where you can just do anything you want in any given point of time in the game till it's almost like you have creative mode. That's the way these games are. That's the way a majority of the players play them. I mean, I don't know what they expect people to do. You have to have a claim of land. You have to have a place to call home. Nobody is going to call a ship home unless they want some type of nomad lifestyle for some meme video series that they're doing. I mean, just think about it. I swear it's like sometimes they don't know their own game even though they're developing it. It's strange to me.
So 𝐆𝐿𝐿 was kind of wondering what the whole situation is with offline raiding. People are finding that they're not really able to defend their bases or their boats, and and because you have to log off, you can't be expected to stay on all the time, and that is something we're aware of, and we are discussing solutions, as Cade kind of hinted. There is this whole Tero system we have going, and I know the designers and the gameplay guys, they kind of want to head towards maybe taking advantage of that to help deal with these situations.
I do also want to say that one of the things that there wasn't really time for, because it's a very involved thing to do, but that I know that I want to do, and I will be talking with some of the other designers about once we decide to head down, actually tackle, hey, okay, rating, how do we want this to sit defense or offense wise, and how do we want those dynamic, we're going to actually do an in-depth dive on this, is setting up a literal cost versus benefit analysis of, okay, here are the weapons that can actually hurt the structures that you use to defend your whatever. Here are the defensive structures. How do these two things interrelate on a resource level? Strictly, what are the resource values of the two things involved? And then take a look at how we skew those two things. I think, at least me personally, I am the kind of person who favors defenders. I think that's an overall philosophy that we've been trying to go with in the game, is that it should be much easier to defend your base, not only because we don't have right now a huge amount of tools for automated defense, but also because we don't want people to feel like they have to be 24/7 watching all of their stuff all the time. Obviously, with big companies, it's easier. You've got a lot of people who can go back and forth. But the individual who sets down and wants to make a small place for themselves, they probably shouldn't have to worry so much about somebody with a pickaxe coming along, tearing a hole in their building, and just making off of all of their stuff.
Yeah. So like all of these things are things we're seeing that you guys kind of want to give us feedback on, and you want to see us make changes, and like we are aware of it, and we are happy to make changes and adjustments as we need, whether that's balancing changes or whether that's introducing new content, new gameplay mechanics to help deal with this stuff. It's like this is just the process of early access. So we set out to like launch Atlas version 1.0. It needs to have these features ready for people to be able to experience this stuff. And now that the title is launched, and we're like, okay, now let's see what players think are the problems. Like, what are the things that we need to adjust? So what's something we've overlooked and like didn't really think would be a thing, and actually turns out to be. And this is where we kind of like, okay, we got to tackle this, we got to tackle this. And thankfully, like we do have a pretty long dev cycle ahead of us, and even, I mean, it goes beyond early access, really. Like,
that's the other thing. There's no offline raid protection, so even if you want to live like the nomad pirate lifestyle where you just live off your boat, as soon as you log out, first off, you can't log out in the middle of the ocean. You're just asking to get hit by a ship of the damned or somebody come up on you and raid you there. If you park near an island, you're not going to own the island, so somebody's going to raid you there. If you're in PvE, I mean, you can pretty much park wherever. You're safe there, but you're still limited to the weight situation, and somebody could kite a ship of the damned to you. And I mean, if you're not online, what are you going to do about it? You're just going to log back in to your shipwrecked, and they need to do a lot of work. And obviously, they realize they got a lot of stuff. As he said, this is early access, so they wanted to release with a certain amount of features at early access, and then see what people wanted. But this, I feel like offline raid protection should have just been a thing that they knew. It was a thing that was requested in ARC until they put it in the game. I mean, modders even made a thing for it before they put it in the game, and then people complained until they put it in ARC. So they should have known that it was going to be needed for this game as well.
Adrian wants to know, like, what is the Tarot skill line going to entail? Obviously, it's magic. What sort of magic are we looking at? Some sort of divination magic? Divination for finding treasures, shipwrecks. See, we'll have something hopefully useful with balanced combat implications. I know a lot of people kind of have various different ideas to how we want to do this. There is just a lot of talk about using, like, how you want to maybe use magic to protect bases and stuff like that. I know there's some gameplay guys who like, they want to do fireballs and...
Well, so the idea, and I'm going to, like, preface this with that the Tero system is a little bit my baby, but obviously with any gameplay system that gets worked on at all, it will go through massive iteration by the time we implement it into the game. So what I'm about to tell you is what I would like to see, but it will probably end up being very different from this in the end. Essentially, a set of objects, cards, items, however they decide to manifest themselves, that have either one-time or limited use spell effects that have been like branded into the cards. When you invoke them, they do all sorts of things, fireballs, enchantments. Like, you can use them on an object as an evocation. You can use them, I want to be able to use them in crafting as evocations, something that you actually enchant into items. So you'd be able to, for instance, take a card that has the fireball spell on it and use it in crafting in order to make a blunderbuss that shoots fire pellets, that kind of stuff. And then hopefully there will also be the ability to do, I guess, enchantment type stuff, not on weapons, but on yourself, where you can give yourself buffs, or you can give party members buffs, or company members buffs, things like that. I don't think anybody on the team wants to go to, like, hey, you can summon down a swarm of meteors from the sky and destroy a fleet of ships from, like, I don't think we want any ridiculously crazy things to be happening with this, but a lot of, like, small scale, we need an abstract way of doing something in the game, be it we want to have fireballs or whatever, or we want a system that works, like being able to ward off enemies, or being able to make weapons or items more powerful without explicitly just cranking their stats up even more, or maybe we want to make it easier to find things in the world, such as shipwrecks, and we don't have a like physical or mechanical way of doing that with the game world,
Then we can
magic
potentially rely
can
on
stand
magic,
in,
yeah,
and we can go, hey,
exactly.
that's actually magic,
Like-
and so it opens up the possibilities for gameplay a lot through that system. But that's kind of how I want it to manifest itself.
like a-
And then later I want to make a card game, but nobody will let me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think something to say about this stuff is like, this is all kind of things we're discussing, things we
Yeah.
want to do. We don't know whether the final product will end up being like this. We don't know, like the first time you see Tero, we don't know, like what Kate has just said, it may not actually be that case. You may have a better idea tomorrow, and we end up going with that instead. So
Yeah.
like, I do want to preface that with this as well. So you guys are kind of aware, like that is the
That was
situation.
essentially
And-
my elevator pitch
Yeah.
from like 6 months ago when I said, hey, I'd really like to do this for our magic system. And yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a cool, like, maybe that's the kind of thing we'll do for magic. And then we slapped Tero in there and went, this is absolutely something that obviously we need to get to post early
Yeah.
access launch.
I don't have a lot to say about Magic other than I'm excited for it and I can't wait to see how they put it in the game and what all they do with it. I think it'll be an excellent addition to the game and I'm excited for it.
Miles77 wants to know, can we expect new types of ships? Like straight up, yes, of course.
Yes.
There are going to be plenty of types of ships. We want to do like more versatile things. I know there are a lot of players who like are making requests, like we want to see this, we want to see that, and we do hear them. And if there's any that we specifically think, you know what, that's a good idea, we should definitely get that in, then we are certainly open to doing it.
Well, one thing that's coming soon is new types of hull pieces. So we'll
Yes.
have reinforced hulls instead of just the base wood planks. We have a reinforced tier that you guys will see more about soon. And even though that's not a full new type of ship, you'll be able to sort of custom build a ship that has very different defense and movement mechanics and stuff like that because of that. Who knows? Maybe it's a little more fire retardant, maybe.
Weird.
Considering the way that ships are customizable, I'm not sure what putting more ships in the game will do unless they do something like it's a cargo vessel and it just has a bunch of extra weight to it. But then it's a situation where people are going to slap a ton of speed sails on it and load it with more cannons. So I'm not sure what that's going to do. I think the better option is to add more ways to customize the ships that are in the game now. And they essentially just stated that they were going to do that with the additional plank pieces, the reinforced planks. I think that's a good idea. And more stuff like that, maybe spiked planks. So when you ram another ship, you do more damage. And I feel like there's a lot more they could do with customizing the current ships and adding different things to customize them as opposed to just straight up adding more ships, because our ships are essentially just sizes of templates to work with. So I don't understand what adding more sizes is really going to do. I mean, I do think they need one that's a little cheaper to make that's in between the sloop and the schooner. But as far as like resources goes, that's the only reason I think one needs to be added in between there, just so it's not as expensive as the schooner, but it's not as cheap and flimsy as the sloop. But other than that, I don't know. What do you all think?
Oh, I'll put this up on like a post somewhere so people can know. Someone says, can you put levers on boats to allow us to turn torches on and off? Like, we have a hotkey in game. If you press the O key when you're in the captain's seat, and maybe the lieutenant's podium too, you can light all the torches on your boat or turn them off. And you can also use R to toggle gun ports, use the U key to cycle ammo on normal cannons on active groups, the J key to cycle ammo on swivel cannons on active groups, and the H key to view all current ammo. I will put that up somewhere so you guys have access to that, because I don't think it's displayed in our UI. We should probably get it added into our tip thing.
I don't really have a comment for that clip. I just put it in there so people would know the hotkeys.
One of the things we would like to discuss in there is a bounty system for PvP. And the idea is, like, if you don't like a particular player or company, then you can send a bounty on their head and other players can go capture them, kill them, and you can claim the gold for doing so. Like, this is something we're pretty excited about. I don't know if you want to kind of shed some light into the bounty system.
Well, yeah, on its surface, obviously, it's a means of exacting vengeance. Specifically, you will be required to take and I believe return the skull of the individual after either noosing them, or we actually have the guillotine coming out with this patch so that you can off with their heads properly and take their offed head to wherever it is that you need to turn in the bounties. This is going to probably end up tying into systems that will show up later, where we kind of want to be able to track the reputation of individuals over time. I'm not going to talk too much about that because, again, it's all stuff that we're going to work on in the future. Nothing's concrete, and I don't want to give anybody any false ideas about what is going on there. But we do have larger plans for the bounty system outside of just, hey, here's a person, and you can go kill them and get money for it.
I love the idea of a bounty and reputation system, and I can't wait to see how that whole thing plays out, because they could do things like you get specific perks if your reputation is bad enough or if your reputation is good enough. And I mean, there's just so much they could do with it, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out and how it develops along the way.
A skin that will go in some form. You guys are probably used to fighting against the Army of the Damned, but we figure why not make it an armor skin. And so we'll have an Army of the Damned armor skin. Not sure how you'll unlock it yet, but it's pretty cool and can be combined with other armors, of course. Can you remove, maybe give him his metal pants with the top?
I think just kind of speaking on the appearance of characters, that's something very important to us in Atlas. Like when you equip a weapon or tools even, they show up on your body, and we want players to have these unique looks about them. We want them hey, if you want to look like this particular thing from particular kind of person who's from the polars, maybe always dressed in fur, and then maybe there's a group of pirates who want to be dressed like the Army of the Damned, etc., etc. These things are pretty important to us, so we're going to make sure there's a lot of options available for players.
One thing that we really spent a lot of time on for Atlas is the character system for customization. We didn't have a lot of time at the beginning of early access to customize how the sliders can be adjusted, so you can create some pretty weird characters right now, but that's just more of a UI thing that we need to adjust. Our characters have, as you probably know, the ability to go from very thin to very fat characters and all sizes and shapes, and that applies to all of the outfits and armor too. And then we spent a lot of time to create a system where any piece of armor can be mixed and matched pretty seamlessly with any other piece of armor. So you can see here, he's wearing the plate pants, and he's still got the Army of the Damned boots and the Army of the Damned top on. Do you have the concept for some of the other skins that are going to go in the next update? So we're creating a lot of cool looks for our characters. These two on the left are the Hydra armor set. So that's a skin for the plate armor on the left, and then a skin for the fur armor second from left. And then on the right, we've got sort of like a Cyclops-themed tribal set where you've got a skin for the cloth armor on the right, and a skin for the hide armor on the second from the right. And, we'll just keep cranking out more outfits. The art team needs tasks from time to time. And so we've got we have one person who's dedicated to outfits specifically, and other people to help out.
Those skins, we knew more skins were coming. They said skins were going to be a big thing. Expect some of these to be paid for. They're going to put the microtransaction system in the game before it hits launch. That's going to be a thing. It will have microtransactions during early access, and they've made it clear that skins will be sold as microtransactions. So we knew they were coming. They're going to have lots of them, and I can't wait to see them all. I think skins is a great idea. Also, you're not going to be able to make crazy looking people. You're going to have people looking people. You're not gonna have those dwarf people with the super long arms and all that. Apparently they're going to fix the sliders on that, and it's going to be based on your height and stuff like that. So I know some people are going to be mad about that because I like playing the hideous characters, but at the same time, I'm indifferent about it. I could care less. I don't put a whole lot of thought into what my actual character looks like. I do like the idea of the skins now in that aspect. I like to customize my character a little bit in that aspect, but as far as your body shape and all that, I don't really care that much.
I think you touched on this before, and we can probably talk about it. This isn't something that we can visually display right now on stream because I don't think it's ready to be done yet, but player shops in Freeport, so we want players to be able to set up their own automated shops in each Freeport, and they can list items they have for sale for gold, and they can choose.
Yeah, player shops are definitely coming soon. We're really excited about that. I mean, eventually it'd be great if whatever you find in a Freeport, a company could set up for people to do long term, So we want to keep giving people the ability to set up their own, commerce areas and towns and stuff that, like we said, you want people to come to your neutral village area or claim area for some reason, right? Maybe this is part of that. You want people to come to your shop, you want people to come to trade, bring you stuff, and you have a bunch of things that you want to sell or whatever with the economy. So there's a lot of cool ideas, out there for how this stuff might work. But you'll see stuff go in the game, and we'll get feedback from you guys and see how we need to.
Yeah, the initial phase
modify
would
it.
be the player shops and the Freeports, and then we'll kind of go from
I
there.
saw it in the questions list, I believe, but we are also going to be doing at some point trade UIs, like ways for players to directly trade with one another and stuff like that. Those are.
There's actually a lot to unpack from this section here. So first off, let's talk about the Freeport shops, because that's one that really concerns me. Here's the situation. They can do one of two things. They can have it so you can buy a person and you can put them somewhere, or a stall or something like that, and you can place it somewhere in the Freeport. The situation with that, if they do it that way, is that space is finite in the Freeports. So you're eventually going to run out of space, and it's just going to be a cluttered mess. I don't think they would do it that way, because that would just be stupid, but never underestimate the power of stupid. The way that they're probably going to do it is an auction house type system, where there's probably a few people set up, I should say a few NPCs set up, and you go to them and you essentially set up a shop within their inventory somehow. Or there's just a straight up auction house. In that situation, you're going to have a ton of people just piling on the Freeports all the time, probably looking for stuff to buy. I mean, maybe not. Considering the amount of Freeports there are in different areas that you can set up these or place stuff in the auction house for sale, it may be a little spread out. But I really hope that they don't try to do it as you actually set up a shop and you actually place an NPC or something like that. Considering that you can't build in the Freeports, I don't think they're going to do that, and I don't think they'd be stupid enough to just do that, and considering space is finite. I'm also kind of disappointed that this is where they decided to start off with, is the Freeport shops. We need the ability to trade with other people securely more than we need Freeport shops, and we should be, or I should say they should be, focused on town building more than having people go to the stupid Freeport. We should be visiting other player-owned islands to trade, not everybody piling around a Freeport to trade. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of Freeports and having Freeport trades, but I feel like that should have been lower priority. I feel like the trade windows should have been top priority, followed by a player-owned shop that you could just set up wherever you own a land claim.
Ship here, maybe we should show some of the cool new 𝐊𝙪𝙩𝙧𝙤 cosmetics for the ships.
Yes.
Which I saw someone's comment asking about that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of cool new customizations for your ships. This one's a really sweet octopus one. And these fit on any ship. Oh. Good. They can fit on top of each
Feature or bug?
Bug, for sure.
Hey, to be fair, he only got like 10 minutes notice that he was doing this.
It's true, he had no notice.
this is some Zane quality.
It was like, Zane, you're not eating lunch today. Just put that food down. Get in this room right
Whacked
now.
his vape out of his hand. He's like, in here.
We're going to keep introducing things like this so
Zoom in on
players
that
can
one.
kind of have their unique looking fleets and ships. And it's important to us that the world feels like everyone you meet is the potential to be someone different. You're not always looking at the same kind of body, the same kind of person. You're not looking like I think there are usually some certain designs in games that, this is the optimal build, but we kind of want players to have the freedom to
We already know about
try
that
different
one.
things.
We do this
So
too.
all of these things are coming in the February update, like the bounty system will be there, the player shops and Freeports, all these cosmetics, like the armor stuff we showed you, the ship ones, and there's even more stuff to come as well. We should have some pretty cool concepts. I'm hoping that we can show off.
Ship skins, woo!
I'm not actually sure if we're allowed to talk about this, but spoilers, the deep sea trenches that we are currently working on implementing, which are going to be deep down under the water zones that you can go down and explore.
In the next update, February update, we're going to have a new main quest, which is going to be this kind of PvE cave. And it's like a legit cave full of all sorts of stuff and a lot of monsters, enemies to fight. You can only enter it if you've got all the power stones. So similar to fighting the boss, you'll need to get the power stones in order to do some of these like sort of more end game quests. But this is going to take you under the polar regions to the ruins of a sunken golden age city, and you're going to get through this cave. And if you make it all the way through, get that special special ability for your character, skill tree that can only be gotten by achieving this quest line. So that should be pretty fun. It's we don't really have any huge underground caves in Atlas right now. We've got some smaller caves that are a little bit shorter, but nothing that's specific, kind of like a dungeon for you to go in and try to prepare for with the right equipment and right number of people, and maybe you'll get lost in there, who knows. But it'll be at various spots in the map, so it can't be like blocked off by any one group or anything like that, and you'll have various ways to access it. But we're working on that. That'll be in the February update too, and we'll add in that sort of special skill tree thing at the end. In the future, we might add more of those type of special skills that you can get through quest lines and stuff like that. So.
And if you didn't catch the special, I don't know if you were being intentionally vague, but if you didn't catch what it is, it allows a new perfect water breathing feat, so it allows players to remain underwater for a period of time without consuming any oxygen, which for a game like ours is pretty useful. And then there's more things like that we do want to explore. And I think the idea is that Atlas is this kind of ever-growing thing where we plan to add more caves, we plan to add more underground trenches, we want to grow the map, the biomes are still getting worked on, there's a lot of different things we want to do, and this kind of dungeon and these underground trenches and this cave, this is I guess phase 1 post early access launch, okay, this is the first bit of new kind of level design we wanted to introduce, and then I know our LDs are working on even more stuff, and it's probably going to be something that we could talk about each update, really.
So we're going to have underwater deep sea trenches to explore. I love the idea of having more underwater stuff to explore and new caves to explore. And I absolutely love the idea of having special hidden talents that you can only get if you accomplish certain feats, like they said they're going to do with the underwater breathing ability. I think that is a great idea. Fantastic idea. Love everything about everything that was just said in that highlight clip.
So we're creating a submarine for you guys, and it's Atlas's. As you may know, Atlas is a world that is more primitive than it used to be. So there's going to be some items that are based on the technology of the Golden Age, where magic was used for essentially a fuel source to power fantastical machines and stuff like that. And along with that, we want to introduce some of those mechanics over time. You already have one in the shape of your compass that can take photos, which I think we still have some work to do to make sure that fully functions properly. That's kind of the first piece of that in the game. But Submarine will be adding soon. Will allow you to explore the depths, the new trench area that we're going to add to the game underwater. That new breathing ability will also come in handy if you want to leave your sub underwater. And the trench area is going to be a whole new biome that's under the sea. So if you think of how Atlas has all these islands and sea play area, think of it as more of a 3D world, because under the ocean right now, you already have shipwrecks and things. The sub will make salvaging shipwrecks much more efficient. It'll make finding those things and getting to them much more efficient for you. But we're adding in those underwater biomes with the trench as the first area to kind of give you that sort of underwater place to explore. That's not just plants and little things down there. There might be caves down there. There might be ruins and stuff for you to find. You'll want to spend some time down there, and it's definitely more mid to end game in order to get there, but just suffice it to say the lands above the ocean are not the only place with interesting things for you to visit.
So we're getting steampunk style tech. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that. I like the idea of having a submarine, considering there's all the underwater stuff, and I like the idea of exploring underwater stuff. I mean, I'm a big Subnautica fan, so of course I'm going to love the idea of exploring underwater stuff. So, I mean, you kind of need a vessel to do that. And I also like the idea of having the submarine to get from place to place as opposed to using a ship all the time. I mean, think about it in PvP aspect. You can use the submarine to basically dodge a lot of PvP shenanigans. And they state that it's not going to be small. You're anywhere from 4 to 6 people will probably be able to fit in it. So it's going to be a decent size vessel. And with the lore that they've put in the game so far, I mean, I can understand magic powering these things. I just hope they don't go too overboard with it.
Like, this is not
Tech.
It's not walking into the high
Tech
technology.
tier.
It's not lasers and fucking, sorry, my language.
Pirates.
I'm a pirate. I'm allowed to swear. But yeah, it's not walking into the lasers and pew pew and jet fighters and stuff like that. We're trying to be very, very cognizant of the fact that the theming and that the world itself is still very piracy, Age of Pirates based. And so the kinds of things that we introduce to the world and how they allow you to interact with the world are going to be very respectful towards that.
So they say they don't want to go tech crazy, but we all know what devs say and what they do are two completely different things. I'm okay with a little bit of like low tech stuff, for example, the submarine, and they state that it's just purely an exploratory vessel. While it is kind of steampunk tech-ish, they're avoiding the lasers and all that stuff, and it's not going to be an attack vessel. I understand that, but we all know devs can sometimes get carried away with things. So I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see.
Some other thing we want to touch on, John mentioned like Hydras and Cyclops earlier. So in this update, we are planning for tame tokens to be available for more mythical creatures. That means allowing players to have limited time tames of the fire elemental, the rock elemental, the Cyclops, the Gorgon, and this also means that the rock elemental and Cyclops will be rideable. So by like timed tames, that means you don't keep them permanently, and there's more strategy involved in using them and bringing these to your naval battles or your land battles. We're also gonna have some new creatures come into the game, and this one is a giant crab. It can carry quite a lot along with players, tames, and like wild creatures. We've got the 2 giant claws there that people will make use of. And I think we're going to find these in the trench, right?
Yes.
This is where, yeah. Mm-hmm. Is this one making it in February? It's we'll see kind of thing.
I don't know if we're planning February on this one. We'll see, but we're working on it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll show it to you.
Yeah. So this is kind of for the desert areas, and it's like can be hard to get water, so we want to have a creature that can help out with that, store water for you, and it's probably going to have water come out of its horns or something, or its snout. We'll see what the animation team wants to do with that. But in addition to holding water, it can also spray water and stuff like that. So who knows? It might have some interesting abilities related to fire or something. Maybe it'll be useful for certain types of defense in addition to just allowing you to get water from it. So we'll see. But yeah, we want to make sure the creatures are nice and fun and fantastical as well. Put a lot of, normal-ish creatures at Atlas's launch because we needed them for various reasons. But you'll see as we go through adding more content, we definitely want to be a little more creative with our creatures, a little more towards a fantasy bent. And we don't want the coolest creatures to just be on the PvE islands. And that's also what Jad was talking about with the tame tokens. The dragon's temporarily tameable right now. We want to make sure you can tame the Cyclops and the Gorgon and all those cool creatures as well, so they're not just strictly enemies. There's another reason you might want to get close to them.
All right, I'm gonna ring it. Are you ready? Because it's coming. It's happening right now. Insert rant here. So just stop with the tames, like devs, just stop with the tames. This is not ARC. They have said in multiple interviews, multiple posts, forum posts, tweets, everything, this is not ARC. We don't want it to be ARC. We want to be limited with the effects of taming, and we don't want taming to be the main focus. Then stop adding stuff to tame. We don't need to tame a Cyclops. We don't need to tame the Rock Elemental. We don't need to tame the Fire Elemental or the Gorgon or any of that stuff. Not everything has to be tameable. It just doesn't. If you want people to go fight things and you want them to have another reason to interact with them, then just put good loot on them. Do something like put a fire sword on the fire elemental and have it so that you can't repair it, so that it's a great sword and people will want to use it, but they're going to have to go farm the fire elemental in order to get it. There you go. I just solved that problem for you. Oh, look, you want another way for players to get water. How about add freaking wells to the game? We don't need some creature to supply us with water. Add wells. Problem solved. It's not difficult. The devs need to get out of the ARC mindset and into the Atlas mindset, essentially. So please, if you agree with me, if you do not want this to be ARC 2.0, because if we don't raise our voice, and we know they're listening to us, if we don't raise our voice and tell them to get out of this stupid taming mindset, then that's what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up with ARC 2.0. And I have ARC. I don't need another ARC. If I want to play ARC, I'll just go play ARC. I want Atlas to be a different game, and they're so set on this. How can we fix this problem? Let's just tame a creature or have a creature that fixes the problem, because that's what they did with ARC, that we're starting to see that bleed over in Atlas. We don't need a water creature. Just add wells to the game. Problem solved. If your fort's on fire, you have wells. If your ship's on fire, well, we should have a way to get that water out of the wells into the water barrels that we have now, the rain barrels, and have those on our ships so we have easily accessible water to put fires out on our ships. It's not rocket science, it's game development. So please, if you agree with me, if you do not want tames to just be taken over, and you agree that we don't need to tame the Rock Elemental or the Hydra or the Gorgon or any of that crap, go let them know in the forums. Flood the forums, because then they'll see it and they'll listen to us. And don't even get me started on the crab, because that crab is essentially just going to be a reskinned version of the crab that is in ARC, and we don't need that either. If you want a weight thing, we have the horse-drawn buggy. Just make a horse-drawn weight sled or something like that. There's plenty of other ways around going and taming a stupid crab to have it carry a crap load of people and other stuff. That's ARC mechanics. They just get away from it. Devs, just stop.
We are making some endgame balance changes with this February update. Maybe come a bit sooner, but we're going to be reducing the difficulty of the wild dragon. We're going to be restricting his movements. I know, like, in some cases where I've seen people try and fight the wild dragon, it's just like chase them down to their boats and set all their boats apart. It's like, oh my god,
It's a dragon.
these guys had no idea that what they were running into.
Let's just say we realize that's way too hard right now.
We're going to keep it tethered to like at a location and see how it goes from there. We're also going to be reducing the difficulty of the Kraken, which is the final boss. It's still going to be a challenge, but it's going to be certainly more doable.
I'm just sad that I've not got to see the dragon chase someone to the ends of the earth and back and murder everything that they've brought with them. But I think the changes that they talk about here are probably a good idea. I haven't messed with any of the in-game stuff, so I can't really weigh in on it too much. So I'm going to, considering the dragon chases you down and doesn't stop following you and murders everything you own, I think it's probably a good idea to leash it.
Now, when you defeat the Kraken in this update, it will give you a new feat, because we wanted to make it more rewarding. Like, we want players to go there and fight the Kraken, and we want you guys to experience the end game content we have, whether that's the new PvE cave we have, whether it's the Kraken, whether it's going to these PvE islands, the Golden Rune Ages. And when you defeat the Kraken in February, it will allow players it'll give them a feat which allows players to prevent wild creatures from being aggressive towards you for a period of time, and that's just another kind of bonus feat we're doing. And I think that kind of expands, like, we're still making changes to our skills and feat systems. Like, they still plan to grow, and we want to make improvements and introduce new things, and
Hey, look, you just solved the problem of getting players to interact with something without giving them the ability to tame it. How about that? I like the idea of finishing the, main boss endgame stuff, whatever you want to call it, and getting another perk. I already stated in the other clip that I love the ideas of the additional feats and stuff like that for completing certain things within the game. I think it's an absolute great idea, and it's a great incentive to go do said things other than taming them.
So some of the QR changes we're doing, like players can now mount a sail directly and control the sail's open and closing mount and rotation settings in a more intuitive way. We also mentioned earlier that the AOD AI ships will come in multiple size variations with different stats and different difficulty levels. So we're going to make it so like any dead ships, like shipwrecks from your company, will appear with a unique icon on your minimap now, so you can find the wrecks. I know a lot of people, they lost their boats and they're like, well, don't really know where we lost it, so we're going to do that change. We're also going to be making adjustments to the UI itself so that, like, you're not constantly flooded with contesting and claim notifications. We're also introducing a stealth mode to the game, which basically is going to hide all the UI elements which may give away your location. We're going to be updating the territory map, so it will now display allies as teal colored, so it's clearer, like when you look at your minimap, like, hey, does this claim belong to an enemy, does it belong to an ally, or is it ours? And then, as Jesse mentioned earlier, we're going to be making some changes to the character creation UI so that, like, things are kind of more tied to height, like, so you kind of have less of these goofy, ridiculous, monstrous.
I don't really have too much to say or weigh in on that. All good quality of life stuff that's needed in the game. Can't wait to see it.
But we do have an aging system that is going to be coming in. But I believe we are planning to talk a little bit more about that, not today, but you can expect to hear about it relatively soon.
It might be in the next
there's just a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of stuff being finalized, and there is I can't do it justice here because a lot of people are touching the system.
Just like when we made the creature system for babies, for Alice, we extended that system to be able to be used for humans as well. So we're working on what the life cycle of a human character looks like from a toddler to a teenager, and then finally to an adult.
Jesse scanned Orion.
All of the customization from your character and stuff like that it's possible to show it from a baby through an adult. So it'll be interesting to see once we get a little more in detail on how the system's going to work, some genetic combinations of characters and stuff like that. But, there's a lot of gameplay stuff to consider as well. So like we said, we'll discuss that later. But just from the content side, it's cool to, work on it and know that we can create a full kind of progression on your character. And how it works will be sort of something that will also get a lot of balance and tuning, I'm sure. But we definitely want to make it something that we want you to want to do. It's not like a chore. That's not the purpose. We want to give you perks and stuff for participating in it. But if not, we'll have other ways to deal with aging as well.
The whole aging system is one of those concepts that really intrigues me, and I honestly can't wait for it. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. I love the idea that your genetics get passed on to your kids. So you basically design your original character, and then you get to see how your character changes and progresses as you pass on those genetics and share them with someone else, and what your kids are going to look like. And I love the idea of that. I think it's fantastic. Put your Fountain of Youth in there. I don't care. I'm going to be messing with the age system. I'm going to see how my generations change, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic concept. And I'm honestly, it's one of the things I'm most hyped for in this game.
There is a lot of kind of feedback we're getting about how we kind of handle our bug reports, and people want to know what is actively being worked on, what are we as a team aware of. So we're going to be using the kind of ticketing system we've created for GM stuff. We're going to create a bug version of that, and it's the same idea. You can report bugs in there, and these are things that players can additionally comment on. You can upvote, and we'll be able to keep track of hey, what are the priority community, what are the issues that the community feel are most important, and that's something we're working on right now. But initially, we're going to be turning on the upvote system on the bug forum on playalice.com right after this stream. So if there are issues that you're running and you're hey, this is this is important to us, we want to see this fixed, you can go upvote bugs currently, and then we're like, okay, this is something that's got like 200 upvotes in the span of a week. Like maybe this is something we got to deal with like sooner than later. And we do want to present that information in a way that's more consumable and digestible for you guys. So you're like, okay, the Alice team are aware of this, this, and this, and they said they're going to be working on this. And like, it allows you to, it's easier for us to know like what you guys want us to do. And then it also shows you like what we're working on.
I think the ticketing system for the bugs and the ability for players to vote on the things that they want fixed the most is like the best idea. Like, why aren't other dev companies doing this with games in early access? Are they? I've never seen this before or heard of any other companies doing this. If they are, let me know down in the comment section, because I want to go tell that company they're awesome, because that is a fan-freaking-tastic idea. Have a ticketing system. You got a bug you don't like, go vote on it. Tell your friends to go vote on it, and it'll get fixed first. Great idea. Fantastic. Good job, Grape Shot. Excellent job. Great idea. I can't commend you enough for it. It's fantastic. And that concludes this highlight, thoughts, reel, whatever you want to call this shenanigans. I'll put a link to the full dev stream down below. It's on Twitch, saved as a VOD. So you can go watch it if you want to see it, but I pretty much show you all of the important stuff here. You can go check that out if you want. It'll be down in the description, but that is going to wrap it up for this episode. If you like what you saw, consider hitting that sub button. I want to give a big thank you to my patrons for making this episode possible. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to join my elite crew of Patreon supporters, please check out the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and show your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.